I'm Marin, and this is Post-its and Pens. Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Marin, and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. In today's video, I am going to take you through my November reading recap to let you know all of the books that I read in the month of November and give you my thoughts and final rating. So let's go ahead and get into the video. So November was another month where I had carryover from the previous month in terms of books that I needed to read. It was also another month where I did not finish my TBR because that is the way I roll apparently. So the first two books that I'm going to talk about were actually rolled over from October. I finished them early on in November, like November 1st while I was traveling. So you know, they were still finished in November, but they were actually mostly read in October. So just to keep that in mind. So the first one that I finished was from the Madman's Daughter series by Megan Shepherd. The book was Her Dark Curiosity. And these books are basically retellings of classic tales. So the first book in this series is a retelling of the island of Dr. Moreau. It follows Juliet, who is Dr. Moreau's daughter, and kind of talks about her finding her father's island and kind of the things that happened. Book 2 then transfers and takes care of a retelling of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and is set in London. So I'm not going to give you any more details than that. That's just kind of an overview. This is a very dark, gothic, kind of horror-ish series, and I really enjoyed the first book and the second book. There are a lot of people who did not like the second book, but I thought it was a pretty strong sequel, if you will, and I am very curious to see how the whole trilogy is going to wrap up. If you like kind of retellings with like that gothic vibe, I would say check out the first book, see how you like it, and then use that to decide whether you're going to follow on with the rest of the series. But I gave Her Dark Curiosity 4 stars, and I am looking forward to finishing the series with the third and final book. The second book that I finished in the month of November is a nonfiction book. It is One Last Strike, and it was written by Tony LaRussa. I'm going to read the whole title. So it says 50 years in baseball, 10.5 games back, and one final championship season. So this book follows Tony LaRussa and the 2011 St. Louis Cardinals. The baseball team was 10.5 games back, leading up into the end of the season, and managed to come back and win the entire World Series. So this book kind of tracks that whole season, but it also talks a lot about other seasons in Tony's coaching career, including when he coached for the White Sox and the Oakland Athletics. So it's not just solely focused on the Cardinals. What I really enjoyed about it, besides being a massive Cardinals fan and living my best life during that 2011 World Series, was that it really gave some insight into how Tony's mind works. If you are familiar at all with him, you know that he makes some decisions sometimes that make you question what is going on. And what I really liked about this book is that he basically let you in, and he basically told you why he was making those decisions. I also really enjoyed looking at how he built the camaraderie of the team, how he got the guys to gel together and play well together, the insight into his coaching staff, and just everything that kind of came together to help make Tony who he was and to kind of help make that 2011 St. Louis Cardinals team who they were. I really enjoyed this book. If you are a baseball fan at all, not just a Cardinals fan, I would really recommend checking it out just for that kind of in-depth behind-the-scene look of how managers work and what it takes to kind of bring a baseball team together and make them a winner. So loved this one, gave it 5 stars, would highly recommend. The next two books were also carryovers from October. As I said, I'm not very good about finishing my TBR when I'm supposed to. The first one was a very quick little graphic novel thing called Fangs by Sarah Andersen. This was a really cute, like, werewolf vampire romance. Nothing over the top. It was all in good fun, and I really enjoyed it. It was super sweet, super cute, and I gave it 4 stars. The fourth book of November is harder for me to really get my thoughts in order for, and that book is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I wound up giving this one 3 stars, and the 3 stars was basically for the atmosphere more than anything. I also really enjoyed the character of Noemi. She is your narrator, your main character. But this book was very strange. And yes, it's horror. Like, I get that. But there were some parts that were, like, downright gross. I did not enjoy reading them. The entire premise of the story was a little strange for me. So by the time I finished, I just really had a hard time kind of coming up with my feelings on the book. There were definitely things that I enjoyed, and there were definitely things that I did not like. Hence why I settled in the middle with that 3-star rating. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really enjoy the book as a whole, although I did like the vibes. Like, it definitely fit with kind of the spooky Halloween-y vibes, even though I read it in like mid-November. But yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't really for me. I don't know if I will pick up another book by her or not. I probably will, just to see how I feel about that one. But Mexican Gothic was just weird, and that's really all that I can say about it. The 5th book that I read in November was actually one that I had stopped reading, I think, back in July, and that book is For the Wolf by Hannah Whitten. I had put this one aside because I really was not vibing with the story at all. I felt like it was dragging and just was not really that interesting, which, considering that it's basically a Beauty and the Beast retelling, I thought I'd be all over because I love retellings, but I was not loving this when I first was reading the book. I got to like page 98 and I stopped reading. So as part of my goal to finish up any lingering books from various TBRs, I went ahead and listened to this one on audio, and that did the trick because, y'all, the audiobook pulled me in, kept me engrossed. I loved the book once I started listening to it on audio. And I actually finished reading like the last 100 pages or so of the actual book. So I don't know what it was. Maybe it just had a slow start. Maybe it was that, honestly, it's kind of like a fall story, if you will, because it's set in like this enchanted forest, and maybe reading it in the height of summer in July in St. Louis was not the best choice, but whatever it was, I wound up really liking this one, and I gave it 4 stars in the end. This tells the story of 2 sisters. One of them is going to become queen, and the other one will become a sacrifice to the wolf of the woods. And the second daughter, Red, is that sacrifice, essentially. But when she gets to the wilder wood, she realizes that a lot of what she thought was going to happen is not actually what was happening. The wolf of the woods is a man. His name is Eamon. And basically, his job is to hold back kind of the rot and decay of kind of the, I can't think of what the name is now, but basically like the dark land that's trying to take over. He's trying to hold it in check, and he uses the wilder wood to do that. And so there was a lot of drama. It's a slow burn romance between Red and Eamon. I really liked that part of it. There are other parts of the story that are set with Red's sister, Neve, as the narrator. I didn't like those as much. I think I'm kind of like the weirdo there because a lot of people really liked her points of view. I did not. I wanted to just stay with Red and Eamon, but I'm definitely looking forward to the second book in the series. Curious to see how it's going to end. I think it's a duology, and yeah, I'm really glad I gave this one another go because I wound up really enjoying it. All right, these next 3 books were all books from my actual November TBR. And they are all series books, so I'm not going to be able to give you like a whole lot of in-depth thought because I don't want to spoil them. But basically, book 6 was Going Rogue by Robin Benway. This is a YA series about a group of spies. And our main character, Maggie, is a spy, as are her parents. They work for a group called The Collective. And in the second book, it kind of follows directly after the first, where you found out that there was like a bad spy in the group that was trying to cause problems, and they managed to thwart it. But in the second installment of this story, there's a bigger kind of corruption problem that Maggie and her parents are trying to sort out. So lots of action, lots of adventure. I did not love Maggie the entire time, though. There was a lot of that trope that I don't like, which is I can't tell you what's going on because it will hurt you type thing, rather than letting the other person decide if they want to participate after you tell them. You know, communication, not my favorite. Miscommunication, no thank you. I still really liked this book. I liked that it kind of took the themes from the first book and kind of ramped them up a bit. We get to travel to Europe in the second book, which is always fun. I like, you know, traveling across the world to solve a crime type thing, mystery crime, I guess. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I still gave it 4 stars. That's exactly what I gave the first book as well. I was glad to finally cross that series off my list, and Robin Benway is just kind of an author that I really love, and I've enjoyed everything I've read from. So glad to have finally gotten this one read. Okay, book 7 was Dance of the Red Death by Bethany Griffin. Now, this was another sequel. The first book was called Mask of the Red Death, which I'll put the cover over here, and it was a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's story of the same name. In the second book, you are following directly after the first. So in the first book, you learn that there is a plague that is kind of decimating the city where this story is taking place. The main character, Araby, lost her brother to this plague, and so she's dealing with a lot of guilt, a lot of anger at her parents who were not there when her brother passed away. She has a lot of anger towards the ruler of the city, who's kind of walled himself off and isn't doing anything to help. And she decides to basically remove herself from reality by visiting what is called the Debauchery Club, where she meets 2 guys. We have a love triangle, whatever. So in the second book, you're continuing on, and basically it's Araby and the others trying to fix the world that they are now kind of stuck in. I felt like this one was not as strong as the first, but I don't know that I would have rated the first book 5 stars had I read it this year. I feel like I gave it that ranking because of like the Gothic atmosphere. It was kind of one of the first YA books to really have that vibe, and I really, really enjoyed that when I read it, but I don't know that I would feel the same now. So the second book really kind of got on my nerves. The love triangle was just stupid. There is a very clear winner between the guys and which one you know Araby should be with. So that is just, you know, it kind of grates on you a little bit. I did enjoy seeing some loose ends tied up, Araby kind of coming to terms with some truths about her family. But in the end, I gave this one 3 stars. I really didn't feel much of an emotional connection to the characters. And even though that Gothic vibe remained, perhaps reading about like essentially a pandemic during an actual pandemic was not the best choice, but whatever. It's another series crossed off my list, and even though I didn't love it as much as I did the first book, I'm still glad to have read it. And the last book was another sequel. It was Born of Deception by Teri Brown. This one follows Anna. Anna is an illusionist who also has the ability to read people's feelings and emotions when she touches them. She meets Cole in the first book. They have like a slow burn romance going on that was really nice, or at least I like vaguely remember it being really nice. In the second book, Anna has traveled across the ocean to London, where she is going to become a performer in like a vaudeville type show, and she also is introduced to some other sensitives, which is what they call people with abilities like hers. Cole is a sensitive as well, but when she gets there, there's like a mystery going on because people are being murdered and going missing, and she has to figure out what's going on. So that part of it I really, really liked. I'm all about the mystery thriller life. What I didn't like was that the author forced a love triangle in where it didn't need to be, because the other guy that she introduced as like a potential love interest was a great character, but there was no reason to do the love triangle thing. He could have been like a super strong character without that, and I just felt like it kind of diminished everything that you'd gone through in the first book, so didn't love that. This is another one where I just really didn't connect with the characters at all. It was the mystery that kept me going, and is why I gave it 3 stars. So not as many. I gave the first one 4 stars. I just liked that one better. Again, had I read them back to back, maybe my thoughts would have been a little bit different, but I don't think so. I really did not like that love triangle at all. I just felt like it was unnecessary, and that like she shoehorned it in because it was the done thing back in like 2013, but was not my favorite. Yeah, kind of disappointing, but 3 stars nonetheless, and it's another series crossed off my list. So that brings my grand total for books read in November to 8. I was supposed to read 2 others. I was supposed to read The Forever Song by Julie Kagawa, and I was supposed to read Invincible by Dawn Metcalf, neither of which I read, which means I have to read them in December. Yeah, I know, I just dig the hole deeper and deeper for my own self. But nonetheless, I'm pretty happy with 8 books. That was a pretty good total, considering that the month of November was very difficult, very stressful, very hard, very tiring work-wise. So I'm glad that I got reading done at all. And yeah, I can't really complain too much overall. I read some really great books. I read some good books, and I didn't really have one that I truly didn't like. So not a bad month at all. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this reading recap. I tried to go as quickly as I can. I'm sorry if this took forever. Please stay tuned for my upcoming reading vlogs, which will track my progress through my December TBR, which includes all of the books that I keep having to roll over from other months. And we will just see if I can actually get them read. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.